Hi everyone. In this video I'll explore the contrapuntal writing of Palestrina and discuss some of the compositional techniques that he and other Renaissance composers used. Although the video's title refers only to four-part writing, this Agnus Dei, like most four-part contrapuntal works, contains passages of two- and three-part counterpoint, which I will also discuss. Despite the influence which the text exerts over the shape and character of vocal Renaissance music, in this video I will not be discussing Palestrina's text setting. When creating a theme, composers ensure that it can be combined and manipulated in a number of ways. The first bar of Palestrina's Agnus Dei theme, for example, can be used with the third bar. This combination and the free counterpoint accompanying the second bar of the cantus entry here produces a crossing of parts and a harmonic shift between F major and A minor, or the first inversion of F major, and G major and E minor. The move between F and A minor and G and E minor join triad pairs who share two common notes and whose root notes lie a third apart. The use of third-related chords is a relatively common occurrence in Renaissance music and can connect two chords in root position or two chords with one in root position and the other in first inversion. The theme's tied note can be treated as a harmony note or as here a suspension, and sometimes occurs above the second ascending eighth note or below. Interestingly, for the final bass entry, Palestrina uses only the first two bars of the theme, omitting the ascent and the tied note of the third bar. Moving into bar 5, the alto's E is sustained to become the fifth of the A minor triad, the root note of which is presented by the tenor's thematic entry. Above the tenor's entry, Palestrina uses a common structural technique as the basis for the upper two parts' melodic contour. Here, voice exchange between C and E prolongs the A minor harmony. This voice exchange, like many, uses motion of a third moving here between C and E. As their basis, all third motion voice exchange patterns contain a harmonic sixth and third. The pattern may begin with either interval and may be used directly, with each note moving to the next with little or no embellishment, or as here with one part using a neighbour note and the other a passing note to extend the sixth to third basis, creating the following intervallic sequence. This F in the alto, when combined vertically with the notes in the other parts, forms a first inversion F major triad. Here, however, it should probably be heard as an upper neighbour note to the repeated E's which flank it, as works using cut time often treat the second and fourth quarter note beats as dissonant against longer note values. In denser contrapuntal textures, typically at least two of the parts will interact harmonically in either thirds or sixths, or a combination of both, while the remaining part or parts move with a mixture of intervals against them. In the following two bars, for example, the cantus and tenor initially move in thirds, while the alto moves in contrary motion against them. From here, the thirds are transferred to the cantus and alto, which now moves beneath the tenor. Another third motion voice exchange here between the cantus and tenor is embellished in both parts by a central D note. Here the common notes between the C and A minor harmonies connect them, while the alto line includes the move of a third between the chord's root notes. Over the initial bar of the bass entry, the cantus ends on A, the fifth of D minor harmony. The tied note of the tenor's theme entry resolves as a 4/3 suspension to F, D minor's third, and the G of the alto's bass line leaps to double the bass's D root note. In this bar, the D minor harmony is prolonged by another third motion voice exchange, this time between F and A in the alto and tenor parts. Here the cantus moves in sixth with the upper line of the exchange, and the top note of its line is held to create a 4/3 suspension over the subsequent C major harmony. The consecutive fifths between the tenor and bass is disguised by the voice exchange, crossing of parts between the tenor and alto, the upper part suspension, and the ascending line in the alto, which guides the ear away from connecting the A to the G. Here, the upper parts move in a combination of thirds and sixths, while the bass moves in contrary motion. Thirds between the cantus and tenor are continued through this bar, with the final third between C sharp and E being displaced by the tenor's 4-3 suspension. After cadencing on D, Palestrina introduces new thematic material based on the following melody, the initial section of which is partially imitated at the fifth and octave and is displaced at the distance of a half note to create a two-part melody. This melody concludes with another cadence on D and is embellished in a number of ways, such as here where the initial D is shortened by the inclusion of a quarter note rest. Although here D enters as a dissonance with the G in the cantus, it is permitted as it is a harmony note while the G is a passing note. And here the melody is embellished with the A of the descent being sustained. The melody's half-note displacement creates the following 3-6-6-6 interval sequence in its initial section, and another intervallic sequence here based on two linked third motion voice exchange pairs. The underlying 6-3-6 intervals of this exchange are embellished by initial and concluding G notes, creating framing fifth intervals, a pair of passing E notes, and this tie in the upper part with subsequent passing E. From here, the same two-part melody is used in the cantus and alto, but is accompanied by a free counterpoint in the tenor. Through this bar, the free part doubles the cantus line in thirds before moving to A to form the cadential chord with the upper parts E and C sharp notes. Although the notes of the cantus, alto and tenor suggest a cadence on D as in the earlier usage of this melody, here while they do cadence on D notes, the resulting harmony is G major as the bass re-enters with that note. From the G chord, a third related progression to E minor, here in first inversion, then moves to A minor, which is embellished with eighth note motion in the cantus and tenor parts. The combination of eighth notes in these parts produces another succession of third and sixth intervals. 2/4 are also included, this one as an offbeat dissonance, and this one as harmony notes. Here a fourth motion voice exchange prolongs the underlying F major harmony and is again used here. This E diminished triad, although cadential, is here essentially treated as a neighbour chord to the flanking F major harmony, with each of its degrees being approach and left by step. Through this three-part section, common notes connect the C and F major chords, G and D minor chords, and the D minor and F major chords. Of these triad pairs, only the D minor and F major move as third related chords, while the others are related by fifths. The root note of the upper fifth related chord is the fifth degree of the lower chord. In these bars, this shared note is sustained or repeated, while the remaining notes move against it. Here they move as parallel thirds, and here in contrary motion. When four-part texture resumes, in these bars the parts proceed using the familiar third and sixth interval pairings. Here the cantus and tenor and the alto and bass move in thirds, and here sixths, initially between the alto and tenor, are then transferred to the cantus and alto. Palestrina also includes here a 6-5 chord, and here a consonant 6-4. He then concludes this first Agnus Dei with a Picardy third, a cadential option used to give greater stability to the final chord of a minor mode work. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you next time.